Whether you're doing fine woodworking joinery or just doing general woodworking in your shop, for final fit and finish, you need the right set of hand tools. And in this video, I will cover the top 5 hand tools to get started with in your woodworking shop. So number 1 can be the least expensive. It's a cabinet scraper. So why do you use a scraper? It's pretty simple. I may have some milling marks on here. I may have some wacky grain. Sometimes it's just to remove what? A quick removal instead of sandpaper of what? Sanding marks. But the problem with a cabinet scraper, and it's not a problem. I have several videos on how to sharpen and put a burr on a cabinet scraper. It's a very slight edge that allows you to angle this piece of steel to scrape wood clean of marks and glue, and also to check grain when you have really wacky grain. But there's a video that we'll put down below, and this here eliminates any of the hassle of putting a burr on a cabinet scraper, and this is called an AccuBurr. I almost forgot to tell you, there's different cabinet scrapers. When I say different cabinet scrapers, there's different thicknesses. Like this is a Lee Nielsen one. This is one I got at SedgeTool, and this is my new favorite. It's a blue spruce, but it's a lot thicker. So number 2 on the list is of course the hand plane, but I have 2 categories of them. The first one is a bench plane. And your choice is going to be either a bevel down or a bevel up. I choose the 4 or the 4.5 category of bench planes. They're known as smoothers in the 4.5 because these are both listed. This is Melbourne Tool Company and this is a Lee Nielsen. This is a bevel down, where just recently I started using a bevel up. I like both, but in that, when I chose this 30 years ago, I wanted the weight of this. There's a lot of times people choose a number 5 bench plane. So the options are up to you, but you definitely need a bench plane, and I'll show you next in the applications. So one of the things with a smoother is, just think of it this way, it smooths wood. But you can also use it because of its accuracy. You can come in here and also joint boards. And I have just grown fond of the heft of this hand plane. So that is a bevel down hand plane or smoother or bench plane. But just recently I was turned on to my first bevel up. And I'm going to tell you, I am so impressed. You have to make that choice. And if you have the opportunity to check either a bevel up or bevel down, do so. But you definitely need a bench plane. Number 3 is one of the first hand planes that most people pick up. I will tell you, don't scrimp on money. Make sure you buy a really good one, because the adjustments are just so perfect on the higher end ones. Now, these are 3 of my go-to block planes. I have several others in my plane till, but the reason I go for these, I believe for me, it's my comfort level and where I can put them right in my pouch, because when I'm doing a variety of small tasks, I don't want to carry a big bench plane. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but I'll go through these really quick and show you some great whys on the block plane. So just recently, I got this Bridge City Tool Works. I believe it's a HP8. And the reason I like this is it's just simple. When I know I'm going to be doing a lot of fit and finish, I have this right in my pouch. If I need to knock off a quick chamfer, okay, on something, I can do that. Or more so, when I'm doing a lot of assembly with the domino, I can knock off that outer rib just like this and just like this, so I can dry fit with ease. So this is the Veritas apron plane. Guess what? It fits right in your pouch or apron. It's also extremely comfortable. I like the small footprint of it. There's not a ton of adjustability in the front. It's not an adjustable throat, but it has a very fantastic Norris adjuster here. So I can really fine tune it. And you know what? This kind of, if I have it and I'm doing a lot of, like I said, fit and finishing, I can just take it like this, just real quick, and knock some quick chamfers off. So my real go-to hand plane is, once again, like my 4.5 bench plane. It's a Lee Nielsen, but I like the weight of it. This glides through the cut, and it's got an adjustable throat. So when I'm doing just knocking down a lot, this is an effortless block plane. Okay. Also, get in here, Chris, so you can see this. I can adjust the throat so perfect on this. You can see just like that and lock it in. And that will allow me to get little or no tear out when I'm using this. Okay, so another great application, this is why a lot of trim carpenters carry a block plane with them, is because right here is sometimes when you need to do a little relief on the back of some crown, you can relief it with a block plane, just like this. And it works great for final fit and finish. Number 4 is you need yourself a really good handsaw. Now, I don't mean to be confusing, but I have several different handsaws. I always prefer a Western style cut where it's a push cut. Now, I do have Japanese style pull saws, and this is a real specialty saw for me, and I'll show you why. Find yourself a general purpose back saw. Now, I have two. This is an old Diston that I have. It's got a slight taper to it. Okay, I just need to get it sharpened again. And I think I'm gonna take up a little saw sharpening myself to learn that trade. The difference between this one and this one, this is a bad axe. I got this specifically because your limitation is to the spline in the back. Okay, I needed a little more depth because I was cutting some really tall tenons for a build where my limitation is right here. But this is what I pull out for general purpose. And there's a lot of times I pull this out. This is my dovetail saw. The set on it is so fine. This is probably one of the best saws I've ever owned. This is a blue spruce. And this is one I've had for about 20 years. I got this in the boat industry. It's called a woodpecker. Sounds funny, but I can actually go in and cut things like this. But I also use this, we'll pull it out every once in a while for some general purpose quick cuts. So a dovetail saw is for cutting dovetails. And if you're choosing one, make sure it's comfortable in your hand. Make sure you can take your 3 fingers here in the tote and you're aiming with the index finger. And for me, with a dovetail saw, it's how it all gets started. And as you're cutting, you'll feel when you're cutting how quick it is. It's like cutting on a rail. It stays straight in the curve. And this here has been my favorite over the years. This is a blue spruce. So a general purpose saw, like I said, this Diston that I have, could I use my dovetail saw? Yes, but I prefer to use this one because it's quick. This is overkill. And this is one of my other general purpose. So I'll just show you, this is the Western style where it's a push cut and it's real easy and just in line. I have this Japanese style. I just have my bench hook here. And what I like about having my bench with a trough is I can drop this bench hook. So it's double duty and I can do a pull cut with this with my Japanese style set. Okay, so not everybody needs a specialty saw like this. I did for a special project for cutting large tenons. In other words, I needed the depth of this steel plate where this one, no pun intended, I have pun intended, just didn't cut it because it would only cut down so far. See that? My limitation was this back right here, this spline. So, if need be, and you have a special project, it's always good to have a large tenon saw Number 5 is a good set of bench chisels. You don't need a whole massive set. You can buy individual pieces here and there. This was my original set. I've had this for a long time. These are my Maple blue chips. The situation with these is it's good steel, but sometimes I just don't like the length, and sometimes I just don't like the feel of the plastic. I have these butt chisels from Crown. I have some flex cut chisels. These are not bench chisels. These are what are known as firmers. I call them pig stickers. These are my mortising chisels. You notice I don't have a full set. I only have 2 because that's the only time I've ever needed them. Those dimensions for mortises. 1/4 inch is probably your most popular. But recently I picked up a set. I like the feel of the handle. And guess where they live? So they're always right there for me. I think this is probably one of the finest chisels I've ever used. They come ready to go. There's no lapping on the back. These are razor sharp, so your bench chiseling starts with perfection. And then eventually you'll have to learn how to sharpen these. I've had no need to sharpen them. They're fantastic steel. They're blue spruce. And I've done a whole video on this. I'll put it in the description. But boy, the more I use these, the more I'm impressed. So let's check out why you need a good set of bench chisels. So in the beginning, be patient with yourself. And when I say that, when you're hand sawing, sometimes you get a little bit of blade wonder when you're doing possibly a dovetail or a tenon. So in saying that, you need to do your final fit. Sometimes it's a little tight in the bottom of the dovetail, or your tenon, you get a little bit of wander. So come in here, cameraman. And when you're using a bench chisel, you can come right in and clean everything up. And this is the majority of the time when I'm using a bench chisel. And then of course, I'll take this and just knock a little bit of the edge off on there too. So one of the number 1 reasons I have bench chisels is to chop out what? The waste in my pins for my dovetails. And I'll just start here as much as I can, and at a 90, come right in here. And I really like the length of this and how this handle just fits really smooth in my hand, so I can start paring this out. And look how that just comes right off, nice and clean. And then I can start on my knife line here and start chopping away. So that's why a good set of bench chisels is a must in your shop. Remember, cabinet scraper, block plane, bench plane, hand saw, and a good set of bench chisels, and you are well on your way for a great woodworking experience. Hey, hopefully I didn't confuse you too much with all the different options in each of those categories. All right, but from the SedgeTool shop, like we always say, be positive, stay sharp, and boy, I mean wicked sharp.